Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be. Maybe request if you may please include the name of your organization along with your name so we will know how to address you. Okay. Yeah, so we're already 29 in the call. Okay. So we have Tala from ROA AP. We also have Agatha from Ibon International. We have Paul and Isa from IT and STL. I also saw someone. Oh, there's Omar C. Hello, Aline. Hello, Jam. Okay. Hola, everyone. So we're 31. So it's already, sorry, it's 7:01. So let's try to add more in our numbers. So once we reach 7:05 in the Philippines, so it's 7:05 p.m. We will be starting in a few minutes now. Okay. So while we are waiting for the others, please try to check if you need interpretation, please see to it that your interpretation is working. So we have available interpretations for French and Spanish. And of course, if you're going to be using English, please make sure that you're on the English channel. Okay. Hello, Diane. Can you please mute yourself? I think we are hearing some feedback from your microphone. Okay, thank you. Mhm. Yan, hello, hello. We're 37 in the call. Ayan. So I hope everyone has tried to test on their interpretation. Mhm. Yeah, so we all have our speakers. So we should, yeah, we're just waiting for a few more people to join in. Mm, Oh my gosh. Okay. Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon again. So it's 7:05. Welcome, welcome everyone. So thank you for coming. You're already 39 in the call. So I think it's already a good number to start. We have there were 50 people who registered. Yeah, so hopefully they'll be coming in a few minutes. So while waiting for them and given the limited amount of time that we have, so I hope you would fine with us to start now. So again, thank you for joining this communications workshop, and we are very grateful for your time and effort to join us today in this 2 hours and 30 minutes workshop. And just a few reminders, of course, we'd like to ask you to please mute yourselves if you're not talking, so as to avoid some feedback. And please make sure that you've renamed your selves with your organization and, of course, your first names. And unless allowed to speak, please mute yourselves. And if you need to, you can raise your hands or you can post your questions on the chat box and we will get back to you. Uh, um, and of course, we will still be having our open forum every sessions as we need to. So yeah, so please be patient with us. Okay. So it's already 7:07. So I think it's good time to start our meeting. Okay, I can still hear some feedback. I hope it's not on my line, is it? Okay, so I would like to ask the hosts to please mute if the participants aren't able to mute themselves or they're not aware that their mics are not muted. So kindly mute them for now. Yeah, so let's begin. So welcome, welcome again. So to give you more background of what we are doing right now, so we'd like to call on our Capacity Development Coordinator of the CSO Partnership and Development Effectiveness. We'd like to call on Ms. Glenis Balange to give us some welcome remarks. So please take the floor, Ms. Glenis.
Thank you, Matty. Thank you. Good morning to our colleagues from Latin America and the Caribbean. Good afternoon to our colleagues in Europe, Africa, Middle East, and North Africa. And of course, good evening to our colleagues in Asia. Welcome to the 2021 CPDE Communications Training. We're still in the middle of the pandemic, unfortunately, and thus we're still online, but we hope to make the best out of these 2 days to be able to respond effectively to the communication needs that we identified and also precisely to be able to adapt to the so-called new normal. CPDE has organized this in response to members' different levels of skills and access to resources for communications around effective development, cooperation, advocacy. Many constituencies have had successes in conducting communications work while others face some challenges. Promising technologies and spaces have also been emerging and need to be explored. Of course, because of the pandemic, we needed to adapt our operations and ways of working. We are cognizant that there exists a digital divide among and within countries, constituencies, and communities, and that our progress can be uneven. We have three main objectives in the next 2 days. We aim to first help build each other's skills in developing and implementing a communications plan and strategy. We aim to provide an introduction to the tools and resources members can use for EDC-related communications work. And finally, we aim to create a space for information, best practices exchange around CPDE and civil society communications. Some sessions were designed for secretariats, but we decided to open the workshop to all members due to the nature of the event. Like, for example, some of us may have connection issues. it's hard to determine the exact times. So we will just have to take a break for those times. For example, there will be interruptions in the uploading on the website for constituency pages, for example. So we believe that the practice of communications is an ongoing journey for all of us. In organizing this workshop, we do not claim to be experts, but we wish to share everyone's experience, including challenges and difficulties. We are very happy that Kimona of DCSDN and Alan of ITUK have graciously accepted to speak. We thank them in advance for this. On the second day, we will have more sharing. May we have fruitful sessions. We look forward to your stories, your best practices, and also your frustrations in communications work to advance EDC so that we can work together in finding solutions and we can support each other in working for people's rights and development. Thank you very much and welcome.
Thank you, Glennis. And so I hope, like me, everyone is excited to go about with our workshop. So this is our first day. So we have 2 days of workshop today and on Thursday. So today, of course, we will be talking about CPDE brand. So we want to help our secretariats develop CPDE related materials. So how does CPDE want to be recognized? How does it want to be known by everyone, and how do you want our partners to align more in our vision and perspectives as a platform and as our organization looking into partnership with the broader society. So okay, we've invited our former network manager, Ms. Padilla. So recently she has developed the CPDE rebrand last year, and she's developing now and enriching our CPDE brand toolkit. So we want her to talk about it more. So we've invited her to join us in our workshop today. So I hope Ms. Potty, you're ready to give your talk.
I'm
Okay.
ready.
Okay, please proceed. Thank you.
So, good evening and good morning, everybody. We will first begin with a brief background on the CPDE brand, the former CPDE brand, and how it has shifted recently. I only have 10 minutes to do this, so I will be quick. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. So just a brief background on the CPDE brand. The CPDE came about during the Busan High-Level Forum on Aid and Development Effectiveness. This was held last November to December 2011. In 2012, the two platforms, Better Aid and Open Forum, merged together to form a united CSO alliance to continue the engagement on development effectiveness agenda. So from there, we've been using the two circles, the green and the black circle, to represent CPDE. Next slide, please. So on the screen, you'd see the different rendition of the logos. The first one will be what we use in the full color layouts. The second is a mono, and the rest, the last one would be the one in a solid color, solid dark color. We've also had the CPD logo in three different languages. So English, Spanish, and French. Next slide, please. So from 2012, the color palette that we've been using is what you see on screen. So it was mainly the CPDE green, I'll call it the CPDE green, and the darker tones of green with gray and black as an additional color. But also because green is, when used alone, is so mono, we used an extended color palette, which you can see on the screen. So you have different tonal values of the red, purple, orange, blue, and a maroon, along with the green color. Next slide, please. This color palette was reflected in the different materials we've been producing since 2012. So on the screen, you'd see how the color palette was used in the different publications, posters, flyers, even banners, uh, and some of our reports. Next slide, please. So 8 years after several evaluations, strategic reviews, management audits, and reflection on several organizational learning processes, we developed the new platform strategic plan for 2020 to 2023. Next slide. In the process, we also highlighted, or we had to reflect on what CPD has achieved so far in 8 years. So on the screen, I've highlighted some of the achievements. So I'll just quickly go through this. We continue to enable global CSO engagement and even secured seats in important global fora tackling effective development cooperation. Recognized as the only CSO platform working on EDC and acknowledged for its expertise in this area and with the wide CSO reach. Together, we built organizational capacities related to our advocacy and research work. We engage CSOs in more than 80 countries in EDC-related activities with at least 35 active CSO country focal points. We amplify the voice of the marginalized by advocating people-centered development in all arenas we engage in. We sustain CSO efforts to work on their own development effectiveness. And we forge alliances with other key global CSO partners. So these achievements suggests partnership, engagement, cooperation. And we think, next slide, please. These achievements have strengthened the platform's identity, making the CPDE logo more meaningful and reflective of strengthened partnerships of CSOs and the interconnection of our own advocacies woven into effective development cooperation. So this is the new meaning of the CPDE logo. Next slide. So on the screen, we see the how we still use the CPDE logo, the short logo, on light backgrounds, black and white or mono, and on a dark background. I think you're very familiar with this. You've seen this several times in our materials. Next slide. So this clearer identity and meaning was a takeoff point for developing a new CPDE brand that not only reflects inclusive partnership, but also one that is able to adapt to the new ways of working. So come 2020, we were all experiencing firsthand the pandemic with our different advocacies. We saw that the issues each one of us have been advocating for was only highlighted by the pandemic. Next slide. Part of the strategy of the new branding is to be able to reflect the constituencies of the platform. Since we were all not seeing each other, we can't travel, we were mostly confined in where we work, and we were reliant on the digital platforms to be able to connect with each other. We thought it would be best to reflect each of the constituencies, not just rely on what the CPDE logo show that the CPDE logo that shows partnership. So we made these icons. After all, the niche of CPDE, I think, is the wide membership engaging in EDC. While the logo suggests that in a general way, we thought each constituency, regional and sectoral, should be represented. Next slide, please. So we adapted the new color palette. The new shades suggest a diversity of our membership. So rather than have the green only, we have the new shades. If you remember the first slide, the color palette is based on the different colors of the icons of the constituencies. But on our materials, we still reflect the green color because that's the CPD color. And because this period was also the onset of the pandemic, we think it's better to reflect brighter colors, more hopeful, um, compared to the old CPDE ballot. Next slide, please. No, not that one. Move back. So since last year, the CPD's work has shifted its work to mostly online engagements. So compared to having printed materials, which was the previous practice, we found ourselves having to rely on digital materials. So doing mostly stuff that we can share online. So this shift actually, we didn't have to worry about the printing costs, the number of pages, the limitations of print material. So the shift to online materials enabled better color rendition of our materials, better use of wide white spaces, which makes our materials easier to read and navigate. Next slide, please. So we also incorporated more photos and graphic images compared to the text-heavy CPD materials we used to produce. Next slide. Also, when needed, we try to visualize concepts and data. Producing these materials also enables us to produce standalone materials that can be used online for your presentations or for social media sharing. So the materials that I've shared so far, I hope I think you've read or seen these materials. So those are the strategic plan, the COVID survey that we did, the HLPF material that we shared, which has the VNR survey from last year. And also this material on the screen is the, next slide please, the recent publication of CPDE, which has the various researches made by our members in relation to their experience as CSOs during the pandemic. Next slide. So this is also one of the materials we produced recently for the summary of the VNR survey and was also shared during the HLPF 2051. The branding can also be seen in the website, which has been improved and redesigned from last year. We still continue to work on a few things there, but I think we've incorporated the new rebranding on the website. Next slide, please. So the one on the left is the one for laptop and the other one is a mobile version of the website. Next slide. The new rebranding is also reflected on our social media releases. On the screen, you can see what the communications group has produced so far. So these are social media cards shared through our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Next slide. Okay, there are empty parts there. Sorry. Okay, next slide, please. It's also reflected in internal CPDE materials, which we share, or the Global Secretariat shares with the CPDE constituencies. On the screen is a CPDE membership charter, which reflects the color palette and our current images produced for the platform. Lastly, I think one of the things that we we try to do is whenever we can, we'd like to make sure that we reflect the identity of our members by adding their logos on our materials. Showing these different identities. So this is like our profile pic, no? The organization's profile pic. Showing these spell out that EDC is everybody's work. And I think this further defines who CPDE is. So that's a brief discussion on the CPDE branding. We're going to be coming out with a branding toolkit soon, the updated version, and we hope it will be useful for everybody. That's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Potty. So I hope everyone has learned something about how we and got inspired with our rebrand. And and it is challenges more to make our materials more hip and of course fun, yeah, given our different constituencies. And of course, please note that on Thursday, we will be having a session on visual design to help us learn more about how we'll be able to make use of our CPDE brand. So next up, of course, we will be having our speaker, Daniela. So she's the Communications and Capacity Development Officer of CPDE based in Portugal. Okay, so she will be talking about social media and media relations. So we all know that at the onset of the pandemic, we were pushed more to master our skills in social media, to relate more with our partners online, and of course, how to make ourselves more visible online. Okay, so yeah, so everyone's being challenged about that. And I hope after this, so after she shares how we've been doing it at the CPDE, you may also share yours and how your organization has been doing it. So we'd like to know your experiences as well. So we will be having about 10 minutes of question and answer after Daniela's discussion. So if you're ready, Daniela, please proceed.
Hello, everybody, and hope everyone's. I'm not going to go over any social media strategies or since this is information that you either already you can find online. But I'm going to focus on specifically how we as a global secretariat can advance collaboration and share resources and know-how to amplify our voices. So as a platform, we advocate on a global level, but the aim is to work for transformation at the national and local level. And as a global civil society platform, it's easy to lose sight of the relevance of our advocacy in a local context, since we try to frame issues in the most inclusive way at a global level. So when we think about the relevance of our advocacy issue in people's day-to-day lives, communities across the world have all felt the devastating effects of COVID, especially marginalized groups, as well as almost every country having experienced a shrinking of civic space. Climate change is also something that everyone is experiencing right now, and the sort of environmental degradation that comes along with it. And these are all very relevant and timely issues that need to be transmitted to the public in an accessible way. And they're also issues that can be projected with greater strength by unifying organizations across the globe through platforms like CPDE. So we have prepared a CPD communications kit, and we will make these slides available afterwards. But in this folder, you can find our communications materials. Some of the most notable that we have come out with in the past years or so, or even before, are the Shrinking Civic Space social media cards, which are informative of cards that summarize the idea of shrinking civic space and how we advocate for it with the Belgrade call to action and so on. And there, as well as the simple principle, for sure, these are just a couple of examples of things that we've made recently that are very shareable as well, and that we have tried to make in the most accessible way possible to reach a wider public. So how can we work together? Firstly, one of the ways that we have tried to facilitate this collaboration process is through the event information sheet. So this is a sheet that we provide the Global Secretariat that you can fill out to produce a piece on your organization's activity or updates for sharing with the rest of the platform. And our members all, which are spread over across 100 countries. So this is a good way to amplify your events if you want, and we're happy to support you with that. There's also sharing, we can share our media directory with you, and this is done by region, by theme, or by different topics, and you can always ask us for that as well. And also we offer support and resources for media relations and social media. So as we have already shown you some of our resources, some of the sort of communications material from before, toolkits and branding elements as Boti just went over. Collaborations, we also are very open about collaborations for videos or podcasts or articles. That's to work together on that in the future. So pitching platform activities to local national news. Now this is more in the media relations part of the presentation. We can also work together to pitch local or national news in your countries or local context. So when we send around emails on certain events or campaigns or research study results to take place, encourage you to think of how this can be relevant to your organization's context. And if it is relevant, you can access a CPDE press kit that we will make available for you. So for example, press releases, background material about projects, research paper teasers, everything. And then you can reach out to different local media contexts that you think would be interested in writing a story about it, or doing some kind of piece of news on it. And finally, press release structures are outlined in the resources that we've made available, but with press releases as well, and find how relevant to your local or national context. And next slide. So yeah, for when we do make news stories, we want to make sure that there's a few things to keep in mind, obviously. And the first one is proximity. So how relevant the story is to people's lives and how related it is to local context. Secondly, human interest. So individual stories are more powerful than numbers, and it's natural for us to want to put a face to social issues. Thirdly, having an evidence-based results, so data as evidence is necessary to back up our calls to actions and principles and campaigns. And finally, a strong call to action is very important. This also answers a question that many people have when they read about social issues, which is what can we do to help, or how can we get involved? Fanny will delve into this more in her presentation, which is coming up after. We will elaborate how stories can be structured and generate a wider audience through search engine optimization. So here is a list of a few media sites that we think are very sort of in line with our principles and our advocacy issues. You might have already heard of a few of these before. Covered social and environmental justice issues. You can contact us for a more extensive list and to collaborate on news pages. Here is just a little exercise that we won't have time to do now, but I think it's a very good way of sort of organizing the key advocacy issues and having a clear idea of how the plan advocacy objectives and different methods of engagement to have. This is from the Reality of Aid Observatorio, so it's quite useful for sort of organizing thoughts on advocacy. Here are some learning resources that we can also make available to you. We'll share all these slides with you afterwards anyway, but yes, there were some different from Civicates, from the SCN, from Aid Observatory training that all go over different media relations and social media strategies. And if we really hope that in the future we can work together with media as well as through our different social media accounts, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Daniela. So I hope you've learned something about how we do our work as global secretariat in doing our media relations and sharing our resources online. So if you have some questions, we have 10 minutes for that. So you can raise your hands and talk, or if you're quite shy to do that, you can also post your questions on the chat box. Okay. So I still can't see any hands raising up. Oh wow, we're already 45 in the call. So hello. Those who I haven't greeted yet. So I hope we're having a good discussion at the moment. Okay, so you will see that Nick has shared the link to our Google Drive where we've placed our presentations on CPDE social media and media relations work. Okay, so I'll count to 3. If you don't have any questions, perhaps we can proceed to our next discussion. Or if not, so you can have your questions after Fanny's discussion. Okay, so there's one question.
I see there is a question.
Yeah, so one question is from Carl Bruno of Reality of Aid. So his question is how often the CPDE land on the news when it contacts its media relations? Oh, okay, that's the first question. And the next one. So I'll give you 2 questions, and you perhaps they're quite related. And the next question is, when posting news on sites or social media pages, I've heard that once a day is sort of the bare minimum to keep engagements high. Is there a maximum or too much in terms of how much content should be published daily? Okay. So would you like to answer this 2 first? Yeah, and then we have another, actually, a third question from, some comment from Mama D. Okay, so you may want to interpret this. Okay, ayan. So while we're asking our interpreters to translate this for us, you may want to answer the first 2 questions, Daniela.
So for the first question about how often CPD lands on the news, well, we have considering that we we are a global news platform, and we want to have a very broad sort of reach. We contact, for example, some of the ones that I've listed before, which I will go back to the side. We contact some of these news sites as well as others that really report on the global issues. And I guess it really depends. There's no like sort of constant frequency of how much we appear on the news, but we do, when we have events, when we have launching campaigns, we do reach out to different media sites and have an article or two posted about it on these international social justice news sites. So that's the answer to the first question. And as far as posting, how often, let me just read the question again. When posting, yeah, news sites, well, there is for sure this, yeah, to be able to have more reach and to be able to appear in your followers' news feed, it's very encouraged to post at least once a day. And you will find that these organizations that have more followers will post a lot during the day, and that it's more likely, it just means that it's more likely to get more engagements because it will be more likely to appear on people's pages. And it's also highly encouraged to sort of retweet other organizations' content as well that is related to yours, because then those the audience can cross over. And yeah, I would say to try to post at least once a day, but that's obviously not always possible. I don't know if Fanny or Meg from the team want to respond further to this question. So yeah, for Facebook, we don't want to, sorry, Meg, yeah.
Yeah, hi, hello everyone. To add to Danny's answer, it really depends on your following. We observe. I think Fanny will also delve into this. It's very important to observe the behavior of your followers and see whether you will see it in the insights page of your accounts. You check if they're how they're responding to your posts. So in the case of CPDE, we try not to flood our followers on Facebook, but on Twitter we're able to post more, and we're able to post in 3 languages. On Facebook we stick to English. So it I think it's difficult to come up with a response, fixed response for all organizations. It depends on the kind of followers that you have and the materials that you have, and whether you think you will generate more engagement. And we also obviously use different platforms based on the material. So on Instagram, obviously it's more photos. On Facebook, it's a mix of articles and infographics and videos. On YouTube, so it's just videos. So very important to base your social media strategy on an analysis and continuous monitoring of your followers' behavior. Thank you.
Okay. Fanny, do you have anything to share as well?
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I don't have much to add to what Meg said, but indeed, it's less about the frequency to which you're going to post on social media and more about the kind of content you're posting. And as Meg precised it, you have to know your audience to know what they are reacting to and on what kind of content they engage. But as matter of generally speaking, it is proven that visual content is more engaging. So if you can post videos, if you can post photos, these are the type of content that creates more engagement for sure. And this is going to be tackled in my presentation in a short time, because it's also about the SEO presentation that is going to be given to you. So we can wrap it up here, I think, but don't hesitate to ask us further questions later on and to reach out to us anytime. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Fanny. And thank you, Danny. We had a very informative discussion. I think I'm hoping that everyone is following each other's social media accounts. So if you haven't followed us yet, so we are in LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and we also have our website. So please do follow us. And I think most importantly, that's make us following each other and liking each other's posts, sharing and retweeting is the key to being more visible. So I hope we can collaborate more, partner with each other, so our content will reach a broader audience. Okay, so moving forward, Fanny Porot, our CPD Communications Officer, will be talking about the SEO principles for effective website management. Okay, so you will from Danny's discussion, so Fanny will be elaborating more on how we make use of SEO to be able to be more visible online. Okay, so Fanny, if you're ready, yeah, please proceed. Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Fanny Porot. I am the Communications Officer in CPDE Global Secretariat. And today I'm going to give you a short brief on SEO principles for CSO websites. To put it in a nutshell, it's about improving your online visibility. So first, what does SEO stands for? SEO is search engine optimization. Copywriting in SEO is the art and science of striking a fine balance between content that persuades and content that Google can find. When we write for the web, we need to comply with Google rules and algorithms. So our article will be well ranked. Otherwise, it is very likely that no matter how qualitative your content is, it's never going to be seen by potential readers. So when we write for the web, we need to think that we write for a mobile phone reading and for a reader who has a very short attention span. A reader who will scan our article in a few seconds and then decide to read it further or not. So our main goal is to catch the reader at first glance. How do we do that? There are a few tips to be well ranked by Google that we're going to go through more in details along this presentation. First, you need to use keywords at all levels of reading. You need to be careful of your article's meta description. You can use the inverted pyramid technique in the body of your article. And finally, you want to create traffic, meaning attention, clicks, and conversion. First step is about using keywords at all levels of reading. Using keywords is the key to be well ranked on Google. That's why your keywords should appear at all levels of reading, meaning in the title, subtitles, URL, body of text, and image out. As you can see it in the picture here, this is at all levels of reading. Even if it may sound redundant, you need to repeat these keywords as much as possible. It means that, for example, instead of using we or the platform, we use the name CPDE or CSO partnership at all levels of reading. And you should do so with your own organization or with the main keywords of the article you are writing about. You can see below on these slides the keywords that we recommend you to use, keywords and tags and hashtags that we recommend you to use in the EDC advocacy, effective development cooperation. You have a first slide here and the second one is here. These are the keywords and hashtags we use the most. You can use it for your websites, you can use it for your social media posts, and in any case, we're going to share it with you later on. Keep it, I don't know, on a sticky note or something on your laptop, and always think of adding it to your articles. And another thing that's important is to choose the right title for your article, because it's going to be determinant to know if the reader is going to click the article or not. So what is quite efficient is using keywords like why or how. You can also use direct call to action, directly addressing the reader. And we encourage you not to write mysterious or long titles. Instead, be very direct. And the most efficient tip for titles is actually to use numbers in your titles. So for example, if you're promoting a campaign, instead of titling it how to support our campaign or just support our campaign, you can think of writing 7 ways to support our campaigns, and this will result in a higher rate of clicks. Here is a peg from Forest International on one of their campaigns about dealing with disasters. As you can see, some of the keywords are well highlighted. There is an infographics and the questions, how, what's that are standing at the side of the page. Next is about the meta description. So how to create a compelling meta description. What is a meta description in the first place? It's the next thing people read after the title. It appears under every search results. So it's the short text that goes right below the title when you do a Google research. Your meta description should be descriptive, persuasive, inspire curiosity, match the searcher's intent, and be 156 characters or less. Otherwise, it's not going to be readable in the browser. And it should also include your target keywords. The idea is that if your title is great, but your meta description is not, you are killing your chances of getting the click and therefore being well ranked by Google. So be very careful of your meta description. When you're writing for your website, you might use WordPress. If you use WordPress, you're very likely to use this plugin that's called Yoast, that has a free version. That's the one we're using here in CPDE. But if you don't have this, please feel free to contact me or Kuya Alvin, who will recommend you an appropriate free software to do this work. Then we also recommend you to use hyperlinks to create traffic. As much as possible, you should insert hyperlinks in your article because it creates traffic and it helps you to be well ranked on Google again. You need to choose an appropriate and accurate link, and don't forget to make the link open in a new window so you won't lose your reader. It means that when you're mentioning an organization, when you're mentioning a reference, a publication, always link it and link it in the most accurate way you can. And you can create hyperlink that redirect to your own website, which is going to create more traffic on your own website, but you can also create hyperlinks that lead to another website. Finally, a good way to improve your SEO score is also to ask visitors and searchers to click through your articles in search and to share it. Both click-through rate and social sharing are Google ranking signals. So ask your supporters to search for you on Google and to click the links. And we also encourage you to add the little Facebook and Twitter icons at the end of your articles so that readers can easily share it. Please also mention that you are part of our platform CSO partnership in your website. You can do it in the About Us section. Here is a short write-up in italic about us, and you can, of course, add that hyperlink to our own website to create more traffic. And you can also access our logos in different languages and designs in the communications kit that has been shared with you, but we can also share the link again in those presentations. Now we are going to share a few tips on how to catch the reader's goldfish attention. It's about using the inverted pyramid technique in the body of your article. Edit your article in a scannable way, like billboard style design, and use subtle visual cues to stop readers while they are in scan mode. So first, the reader's goldfish attention span. Let's be realistic and go straight to the point. Only 16% of the people on average will read every word in your article. You have to understand that readers will never read your text properly nor entirely, so you should not bury the lead. You have to state your most important information in the first 2 paragraphs and front load your title, subtitles, subheads, and sentences with key informations. As you can see in the image in
Hello? Okay. If we're having some problems with the audio of our presentation.
And front load your title, subtitles, subheads, and sentences with key informations. As you can see in the image in the bottom right corner, those red, yellow area are where the reader's eye go when they are actually scanning an article on a mobile phone. As you can see, it's mostly on the top right corner. So be mindful of that and don't forget to put the most important information in a way that is highlighted and readable when you read it in a scan mode. Then the inverted pyramid technique. The idea is simple. Unlike in an academic paper, you don't end with the conclusion, you start with it. So you start with the lead, which is a basic journalism rule. What is inside the lead? Your lead should answer the following questions: who, what, when, where, and how. So these are the most important informations. Then it has to be followed by the less important informations, and those facts have to be revealed in order of importance. You can then add quotes and informations. That's also where some illustrations, videos, hyperlinks can come in. And at the end, we recommend you to add a call to action, maybe a link to a registration link or downloadable documents, but no essential informations at the end. Then how to make your text scannable. So as soon as you or anyone who visits your website or blog sees a block of text, they can instantly skim. So the features of a scannable text are the following: one sentence paragraphs, short enticing lines that draw the eye further down the page, questions, bullet points, ellipses, subtitles, and quotes. So here in the right part of the screen, you can see in the upper right part the kind of text, the kind of design that we don't want to see because it's not readable, it's not attractive, and nobody's going to take the time to read every single sentence and paragraph of this text. Versus below, a much more lighter text with bullet points, with one sentence per paragraph, and links and questions and numbered lists. And this is more how your articles should look like. You can use a range of formatting elements to capture and keep the attention of the readers, including images, banded callouts, quotes boxes, checklists and action boxes, and buttons for call to action. So this is one of the many examples. Here's an example of an article that we wrote about the CSO Aid Observatorio workshop that was an activity organized by CPDE and Reality of Aid Asia Pacific. As you can see, this article is filled with hyperlinks. It has some videos that are clickable. There are code boxes with images, listed bullet points. All of this make it more nicer to read and just increases the chances for our reader to stay on the page. Here is another pic from Forest. So that's one of their campaign. As you can see, very little text, a lot of images, videos, and buttons to click. This is the kind of template you want to follow. Less text, more clickable buttons and videos that will then lead the reader or your audience to stay longer on your page. Finally, we also encourage you to use infographics, maps, timelines, and other types of illustrations, because this is what brings more attention both on your website and social media. And you don't need to be a graphic designer or a very skilled web developer to actually create those. There are a lot of free online available tools, such as in terms of infographics, you can use Canva, Infogram, PictoCharts. All the links are included in the slides that will be shared with you. You can also use interactive maps through Google Maps, Story Map.js. So if you, as you can see here, on the top right corner, this is one of the interactive maps of our website, where we've put some case studies about EDC in different countries. This is very easy to fill out. You don't need to be a web developer to do that, I promise. And you can also check Timeline.js in terms of chronology. If you want to do a quick chronology of your organization or project, again, this is very easy to fill in and it looks very good at the end. So I encourage you to visit this website. And of course, you can get in touch with me or anyone in the communications team if you need further support to develop these good-looking outputs. And that's it for now. I hope this was helpful. And now the floor is open for question and answer. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Fanny, for that great presentation. So apologies for for the technical difficulties we had a while back. So if you have questions, so it's your chance to yeah, raise your hands and get your voice be heard. Okay. And of course, you may also chat your questions on the chat box. Yeah. So while waiting for um someone to ask a question. Okay, so I hope we've learned something about how we make use of our SEO, how to make our content more visible and reader friendly, given the very short goldfish attention of our readers right now. I think you will notice that the younger the reader, the shorter the attention span. So it's most of like if we have partners who are like more than 45 years old, they are the ones who are more patient in reading long articles. But if your viewers are younger, you expect them to have shorter attention span. Okay, so now we have two questions, one from APMM and then Krista and another from Paul. Okay, first question is, does the domain name or URL affect the SEO at all? And Paul's question is, do you have any recommendations for SEO optimization add-ons or apps that we may use for the website? Would you like to answer, Fanny?
Yes, I can answer that question. So the name and the URL does affect the SEO. So this was in the first slide of the presentation. I'm really sorry if some of you couldn't access the audio. It's because I pre-recorded my presentation, and as it was instructed by Meg during the presentation, you should have been on the English slides to access it. But for those English speakers who couldn't hear it, please note that this was recorded and this will be shared with you shortly after the meeting. So when I was presenting the need to use keywords at all levels of reading, it includes the need to include the keyword in the URL, in the text, in the titles, subtitles, in the image alt. So this is actually key. So be mindful of the URL of your article. Make sure that it includes the keywords that you will be repeating all along in your articles and publications. And then for the SEO optimization add-ons or plugin, it depends of what kind of platform you're on. If your website is on WordPress, which is the case for most of us, you can use the plugin that's called Yoast, Y-O-A-S-T. It has a free version, and this is already enough for you to actually do a good SEO score. It's quite well done. You can change the URL, you can add a meta description, you can put the title, you can add an image. And actually, as the Yoast plugin will even give a sort of score to your SEO score for your article. So it will, if it doesn't look good to the plugin, it's going to tell you you should make it shorter or you should add this word. So it's one of the most commonly used plugin. But if you have another platform than if you're using another platform than WordPress, then there is also alternative tools. And I just invite you to contact me or Kuya Alvin directly. You can email us anytime and we'll try to find the best tool for the platform you're using. I hope I answered your question, and I'm still open to answer more if there is. Thank you.
Okay. Any more questions? Okay, so I'll give you 3 seconds to raise your hands and post your questions. So 3, 2, and 1. Okay. Thank you very much, Fanny, for that very good presentation. So if in case you still have questions that we may not have been answered in the previous discussion, so you can still ask them maybe sometime around the end of the discussions or before we close the session today, you can still post your questions and we can ask the specific speakers to answer. Okay, so it's already 8:04 Philippine time, 9:04 a.m. Somewhere in Latin America, and 2 p.m. somewhere in Europe. So I think given that will be the next part of our discussion is a 30-minute discussion from Alvin about how we do webinars and upload contents in the website. So if so given this long discussion, so we'd like to ask for a short break. So let's shake our hands, and I'm sure your if you have your health watches with you, they may be saying that you should start stretching and standing up, okay, to avoid all those back pains. Yeah, and to correct your posture. So let's have a very, very short break. Okay, so let's come back 8:15. So that's 9 minutes from now. So let's have a short break, and yes, please do have your coffee, have some snack, drink water, and shake, shake, shake. So you'll still have more energy and to continue with our session a few minutes from now. Okay, so we'll see you in 15 minutes. You can still post your questions. If you don't want to go on a break, you can post your questions and maybe we can answer them. Okay, so thank you. So we'll see you in a few minutes.
The CSO Partnership for Development Effectiveness is an open platform that unites CSOs from around the world on the issue of effective development cooperation. Effective development cooperation is a framework in achieving real inclusive development by ensuring an enabling environment for all development stakeholders. Empowering CSOs to play a large role in development work.
CPDE hopes to be able to address the issues of human rights, people's participation in governance, in decision making, in democracy. And we hope to achieve this by collaboration, cooperation, or solidarity with different stakeholders and actors like government and certain private sectors.
CPDE brings together CSOs to work in various advocacy arenas. For many years, civil society has been pushing for genuine solutions to address worsening poverty and inequality. These efforts have resulted in the formulation of commitments and principles of effective development cooperation in 2012. Since then, the CPDE has promoted the EDC. One of the main goals of CPDE is to universalize EDC, which means applying the framework to all development programs to ensure that the symptoms and structural causes of poverty and inequality are addressed.
La cooperación eficaz es importante porque en general mucha cooperación viene por parte de los gobiernos. Sin embargo, para que esa cooperación sea transversal y sea participativa y democrática, la sociedad civil no solo tiene que estar en el momento del diseño de la cooperación, sino también en el momento de la implementación, en el momento del monitoreo, para poder hacer lo que llamamos apropiación democrática, y es que las sociedades que reciben esa cooperación se sientan parte, involucradas con los procesos de cooperación y que realmente sea sustentable, es decir, que a largo plazo esas sociedades puedan subsistir y puedan desarrollarse, desarrollar su industria, desarrollar su sociedad, desarrollar sus derechos sin la necesidad de una cooperación internacional.
CPDE members are located in 117 countries across 7 regions. CPDE convenes 8 major sectors: agriculture and rural development, feminist groups, faith-based organizations, indigenous peoples, international civil society, labor, migrants and diaspora, youth.
Over the past 10 years, we have seen that civil society organizations, their trade unions, women's organizations, youth organizations, farmers organizations, are increasingly being oppressed by governments and vested interests. And our biggest achievement is to consistently bring this issue into discussions about development aid and development effectiveness.
Join us, and together, let us embark on the journey towards effective development cooperation. To know more about our work, visit our website at www.csopartnership.org and follow our social media accounts.
Check, check. Hey, mic check.
Hey, hello, hello. I hope you were able to do some stretching and have a sip of water, juice, whatever makes you comfy. Hey, so if everyone's ready, I hope you can hear me well with all the music that we are hearing on the background. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Ayan. So, yeah, let's proceed. Hello again. Yeah, so we are 45 on the call. So wow, we're strong and very much ready to learn. So we're maintaining a very good number of participants in our workshop. So moving forward, so we made the discussion and we had the discussion on how we do our social media work. And that was discussed by Danny. And we had a discussion from Fanny on how to make our how to do our how to make our articles, our outputs, communications outputs more reader friendly, how to make use of SPOs. Yeah. So moving forward, given that we know that our main communications platform is our website. So our IT officer, Alvin Villamor, will be giving some discussion and tutorial on how to conduct a good webinar, a very interactive webinar, and how to improve our websites. Okay, so while Alvin is preparing, yeah, I'd like to welcome everyone who just came in. So hello, Georgina, hola. Hello, Tola. So welcome to our webinar. Yeah, so I hope your interpretation is working well.
Gracias.
Aloha. Okay. Hola, hola.
Sí, está muy clara la interpretación.
Yes,
Gracias.
interpreting
Okay.
is very clear. Thank you.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay,
Greetings to everyone.
Yeah, hello, hello. So I hope Alvin is ready to give his presentation. Are you ready, Alvin?
Yes, hello.
Yes, he's very ready. Can we see your beautiful, handsome face? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so he's Alvin, our IT officer. He's gonna give a 30-minute discussion. So at any rate, yeah. So given that it's gonna be a long discussion, so we'll try to make it as lively as we can. And if ever you have some questions, so we will see if we'll be able to answer them in between or in between the session the parts of his discussion. Okay, so just post your questions or raise your hand if you have any clarifications or you want to have it if you want to have the discussion slower, faster. Okay, so just feel free to post your concerns and questions on the chat box. Okay, so if you're ready, Alvin, okay, please proceed with your discussion. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Mati. I will go first to the how to upload on the website. All right. First step, you need to log in into the website. You can go to csopartnership.org. You will fill in your username there and password that we emailed to you. And after logging in, you will go to the upper right corner of the page, and then you will hover your username, and then you can click the My Account link there, and then in the My Account section of the website, you can edit your account there. You can change your password. You can view the stats of all your posts, and then you can also view all the posts that you posted. And then there, the button also is in adding the content on the website. You can click the submit post, the green button there, and then after clicking that, the page will now go to the create post section. You can type the title, the subtitle if available, and then the big box below there is that you can add your content. You can put all the text, image, and other content that makes your post new post. The body content box editor provides you with formatting tools like bold, italic, paragraphing, alignment, styles, and also you can add a link, hyperlink there, and a bunch of other things. The feature image will usually be shown at the very top of the post. It will also be your post thumbnail, meaning whatever this post appears, the thumbnail image will appear along with it. You can upload an image, image gallery, or you can embed video from YouTube or Vimeo. How to add a category and tags. They are located on the right side of the page. Primary category are usually your regions or sectors, whereas the tag are generally a bit more specific regarding of the post. You don't want your tags categories to be too general. But you also don't want them to be specific. They only contain one post. So like Fanny share to you. Here's the example of the categories that we use on the website. So we have the according to themes, according to policy arenas, according to scope or areas. Regional, Africa, Asia, for example, and sectoral, and also according to content type. The tags example here also event-based topics according to themes, and then more specific topics. This is all the sample. Once you're happy and in your content and your post is finished, you can just click the submit post button on the right lower side of your post. It will be submitted for review by the communication team. You can, but you can still edit your post by clicking the My Post button by hovering the login button in the upper right corner of the page. So that is for posting. I think if we have a question, maybe we can ask now before we go to the webinar part.
I think everyone is still good.
All right.
Ayan. So Isa has a question. Hello, Kuya Alvin. Is there any specific dimension for images when uploading an image? And Agatha asks, can we ask how to change website banners?
For the size dimension of the website, we normally use 1920 or 1080p dimension, but the website will automatically crop, regenerate the image according to the page what we used or viewed. What is the question of Agatha again? Sorry.
He's asking how we change website banners.
You can, it depends on what plugin you used. For example, if there's a lot of plugin in the there, so for example, there's the Revolution slider, the what do you call this? WP slider, but the important there is the image size. Yeah, you should use a high resolution, but you have to resize it and then make sure that you will save it for the website purposes. So it will not be too big size, because if you go over 200 kilobyte size of image is that is big for the website. So it must be lower than 200 kilobytes. That's it. Over.
Okay, I think you can, if there are no more questions, maybe you could proceed on the next part of your discussion.
All right. Thank you, Mati. All right. The next topic that I want to share is how to use any broadcasting live streaming software. So because due to the pandemic, we are forced to learn or adapt to things through online communication, transaction, and even holding big events. Now, I will try to share how to launch dynamic events while maintaining your organization's branding, the feel and look of the events, and hope this will be useful to everybody. Wow, why do we need it? Why do we need connect the OBS or any broadcasting software to Zoom? Why do not everything directly to Zoom? It will be more simple and easy, right? So simply because we want our virtual activities and meetings to be more interactive, lively, and not too draggy, while bringing in our own branding to the whole presentation. You can do this with Zoom, Blue Jeans, Microsoft Teams, Cisco WebEx, and again, you can capture all this with vMix, Wirecast, OBS, or Speak. Just bringing the video into Zoom allow us to show very creative background, timers, all kind of great stuff. But we go as far as doing the video or the audio side of the things. Many people might not need to bring audio from OBS to Zoom because they just use their microphones and their headphones with Zoom, and they are all good. But I think bringing audio to OBS or any other broadcasting software opens up so many great possibilities. So we can send audio music, audio clips, we can play video clips, and we can send background music while waiting. For example, if the event is not yet officially started, we can play sound uplifting music, something like that, or play a video. If you are sending your OBS video into Zoom, you can show lower thirds, you can show video clips that, like what I say. The possibilities are really limitless. The only limit is our creativity. So today, we are going to look at the easy way to connect OBS into Zoom. And then possibly more important, but completely way to connect the OBS into Zoom. So much easier with the new plugins that they update. So we're going to focus to the OBS because I know that's what some of you are really or are already using, and it's 100% free software. So this is an open source software. We're going to take our virtual camera to Zoom, and then we're going input. We are going to take our microphone input to in Zoom. So this tutorial is a single person setup, but it goes more smoothly if you have a team that working in the event. For example, one person to the Zoom admin, and then one person to share the screen, and then the another person is handling all the technical communication matter. So all the concern of the viewers, and then everything they will just type in there and then inform us. So I'm going to start with the easy stuff first, but so let me start my slides now. Sorry for the too long intro. All right. There you go. The first slide is a diagram, so you can see the picture above, a complete connection diagram. So you can see there the left side is the OBS and the right side is the Zoom. So there, yon. So and then the requirements of this setup is, of course, the Zoom or any other program like Microsoft Teams, Jitsi, and then of course the software, the latest version of the OBS, and then the OBS virtual camera, and then the virtual audio cables, and then the voice meter software, but this is optional. So of course you will need a headphone or laptop speakers, and then two monitor. So you can just borrow the monitor from your colleague if you have an event. So there's a link there. The audio cable is there's a donation there, but we downloaded it. So the link is will go to the CPDE cloud, so you can download it. So after installing this all requirements software, the next slide, you can just start the virtual camera. There you can see there the start virtual camera. If you click that, it will automatically activate the virtual camera from OBS, and then you can just find it to the Zoom. And then this software, you can use this by, so if you're if you want to use the headphone or speaker, the sound control panel here is you can right click the voice meter and then set as your default device. This allows the voice meter to output your audio to any source attached into your computer. The next slide, we want you to take a look again, and then you can see that the voice meter is being used to connect the OBS and Zoom audio. You can also see that this is being sent to the headphone. You can now set your voice meter with your virtual audio cable using headphone. Next slide is the OBS settings. You must go to the advanced audio properties in Zoom. So right there in the image, you can see the audio settings. The speakers that we use is the cable B, and then the microphone is cable A. Yun, tapos na. That's it. You're done. Well, I know this is hard to just seeing the PowerPoint, but we love to assist you if ever you wanted to one-on-one tutorial, for example. Just let us know. Email Meg in case. That's it. Over. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alvin. So the discussion was quite technical, but I hope you've learned something on how to improve or how to make our Zoom webinars more more interactive, more and for us to be able to share our contents more. Okay, so if you have questions, please post your questions now. Diwa has a question here, and her question is, does this apply for both Windows and Mac computers? Okay, I think she's referring to the add-ons to Zoom. Oh, okay, OBS. Yeah, Alvin.
Yes, the OBS is also have the Mac version, the Linux version, and then Windows. So you can also use this OBS to MacBook Air, something like that.
Okay, that's good to know. I think if some of us have other experiences or use other apps, how they experience using these apps, maybe you could share that later. Yeah, so we have a very before we end our session today, but you can also have your questions now. Okay, I'm sorry, I think my internet connection is not stable. That's according to Zoom, so I hope you can still hear me well. If you have no other questions, or you want to raise your hands, please to raise your hands. But if you don't have any, so we have invited 2 speakers. Yeah, so you can also ask questions after they share their after our 2 speakers. No, okay. So we've invited 2 speakers to share to everyone how their experience in doing communications work. And so while we've learned a lot of how we do digital work, how we do digital communication, so we've invited 2 speakers to share how they've experienced it in real life. So other than CPDE, so we've asked some friends, some partners to share how they did it in their own organizations. So first up, so we have Alain Rodriguez from the International Trade Union Confederation, or ITUC, and he'll be sharing about their experience about a particular campaign called the Time for 8. Yeah. So after he's gonna be able to after he shares his thoughts, their experience, and the practices that they did, so we'll be entertaining some questions. So I hope Alain is already online and ready. Okay. Ayan. Hello, Alain. Okay.
Hello, everyone.
So, please proceed with your discussion. Thank
you so much. Just waiting for my slides to be there. Meanwhile, you can see my nice background for the campaign. So waiting for the slides to appear on screen. Apologies for that. There you go. So thank you. So Time for 8, it's the campaign about the SDG 8. But I could make it complicated and go into the details of the advocacy plan, but let's keep it very simple. What is Time for 8 about? And if you go to the next slide, Time for 8 basically, it's really a campaign about going from this, and I suppose that most people recognize this picture. It's a typical high-level fora with jargon-loaded speeches, which might feel quite far away from the reality of the communities of the grassroots movements. And it's about going from there to the next slide, which is more about our reality. I don't know if it can appear. The next slide, please. There we go. So to this, a reality where activists, unionists, workers, grassroots movement people, I mean, everyone owns the campaign, owns the messages, owns the SDG, and feel empowered to adapt it to their own realities, so that they can, defend their claims for social justice and for decent work on the basis of their real lives, and not from whatever has been said in the high levels meetings. So how have we done that? If we go to the next slide. Yeah, so as you can see, the online campaign, it doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It's underpinned, by more activities around it. So we have a global research work that is a global monitoring of SDG 8 that covers 152 countries in the world. And we check how progress on SDG 8 is being made and how that progress also impacts the progress on the other SDGs. Then we also do every year national monitoring of how governments are implementing the SDGs. And those are compiled in a report every year ahead of the big event in the United Nations in July. We do advocacy, local advocacy, because it's all from global level, like the first picture at the HLPF a few years ago. National level, like the picture in the middle is the FESTU in Somalia, in Somalia, working with the United Nations resident coordinator so that they can engage actively in the development plans of the country. Or locally, like the third picture, which is from this year's Decent World Day, where we had different activities at local level in Senegal going on. And a tool that we use to open doors and have these meetings going on and start off is a letter. Basically, we ask our members, our affiliates to, on the basis of all this work, engage with their stakeholders, with their targets through a letter, asking for a meeting, because once the meeting is engaged, then the dialogue starts and they can, progress in this work. And then finally, we have the online campaign. If we go to the next slide, so time for 8. So keep it very simple. Our main objectives with this campaign was to be as present as possible on social media in the feed that was dedicated to discussions around the HLPF of 2021. So the HLPF is the high-level political forum on sustainable development that takes place every year in the United Nations, where countries present their voluntary national reviews, and we have a chance to jump in and contrast those reviews, by the way. And also where we can then present our demands. So we wanted to really show our positions to be as present as possible in that feed. And another objective, of course, was to stimulate the unions' engagements by visibilizing their activities, both during the event, side events, plenaries, and so on and so forth, or also what they've been doing at national level that connects to the discussions that were taking place in New York. Who were we targeting? Of course, everyone following the HLPF discussion, and then trade unions. If we can go to the next slide, please. So what materials we put in place for that? We had it's not a website, actually it's a web page within the ITUC website. So it's a web page that gathers the main messages of the campaign and news about activities, 3 languages, and not a unique average visits monthly was 640 people coming in and out of that website. Not much, but it's mainly because most of the communication was centered on the social media. The budget in-house. Then videos, we created 8 videos because the campaign has 8 key messages. It's symbolic because of time of 8. So we have 8 videos connected to our topics, and every video it's in 3 languages. The videos were adapted to people watching them on mobile devices without sound, so they all have the text and music with footages going on. They worked quite well on Twitter, as you can see. with 4,000 impressions and 4,500 impressions. So they've been watched that many times, or been seen by users that many times, not watched, sorry. Watched, it was 396 and 297. We also issued newsletters, top 10 issues, sorry, one per week. So we started 8 weeks before the start of the event so that we could every week introduce one topic. And then when the event started, we dedicated 2 last weeks to what was going on in the HLPF. Now, if we think that the benchmark for 2021 of opening rate is 19.7, so we did 25% of those openings. And then the click average is 2.3%, and we are at 4.86. It worked quite well. And then we also received testimonies to provide a real testimony, a real example, real life example of the topics we were talking about. So we received 8 testimonies from across our network, and those were translated in 4 languages. So the languages that we work with normally are French, Spanish, and English. And this time we also translated those into Arabic in 2 formats, Twitter and Facebook formats. And yeah, in June, they were quite well too, with over 4,000 impressions. Next slide, please. So those were the official materials that we created from the Bureau of the ITUC. And then we asked affiliates to contribute with more testimonies, more messages from the unions, from leaders, from workers, in forms of videos and pictures. So we received, as you can see, more or less 100 contributions. This is the 3rd year, so we did it. So it's been more or less the same stable amount of contributions. And those are the countries where we have been actively engaged in the Time for Aid. So you can see in the dark orange, those are the countries who have contributed both to the advocacy part, reportings and so on, and to the campaigning part. And in light orange are those who have contributed to the reporting part or advocacy part. And you see the badges too. I forgot to mention them before, but to edit all the videos we received and adapt them to the look and feeling of the campaign, it cost us €2,000, 2,500. And for the pictures, it cost us 1,700 euros to adapt all of them in the 3 languages and in the feel good look and feeling of the campaign. If we go to the next slide. So the channels that we used mainly were Twitter, Facebook, and email, like I already explained. I put on the side of emails WhatsApp because I discovered that it was very useful to have an alternative to email, especially if with those key members of the network that you know that very engaged, and just that everyone receives so many emails. So it's, as a good reminder, WhatsApp channels worked very well, I have to say. And also it enabled us to broaden up and to expand to other engaged people that we not necessarily knew from the very beginning and who engaged through WhatsApp. So it was a good and quite nice initiative that we took there, and it yielded some responses. It was positive. You can see all the figures. So the Twitter engagement in the end gave us like 150,000 impressions. So it was pretty well noticed, so to speak, in the channels. And Facebook less, 16,000, but still quite good for what we're used to with Facebook. If we go to the next slide, please. So here I have some reflections and open questions. And I mean, our experience tells me that Twitter seems to be the platform to use when it comes to advocacy campaigning, even online advocacy campaigning, because all the main actors are there with active profiles. Facebook, on the other hand, and Instagram feels more like internal, like we can share pictures of each other, like to show that you've been there, I've been there. We've done this and that, but I don't know. And I really hope that out of this seminar, maybe someone will have answers to that if it has an impact in terms of advocacy communication. I would love to hear more about your impressions and your experiences on that. Like I said, the WhatsApp was very useful for internal communication means and to expand. I know that some others are using other tools also, but that's the one we've been using. And then 2 reflections. Providing ownership of the campaign really provides you with the most realistic, more real testimonies that feel like, yeah, real. That's the word I'm overusing, and that I was looking for. And then also that it's very important to make the narrative as accessible as possible to overcome the language barriers, because we have people that need to explain in the local languages what the messages are about, what we want to achieve. And the easier the language is from the beginning, the easier it will be to transmit that information further down in the groups. That's all for me. Really, really looking forward to hear from you and your thoughts about this.
Thank you, Elaine. Yes, the experience of ETOK is very informative, and we've learned a lot from your experience. So, yeah. So, do we have any questions for Elaine? Okay. So, if we don't have any, maybe you have you may ask your questions after our next speaker shares their experience. So, thank you, Elaine, for that. Okay. So, our next speaker is Simona Mladenovska. So she's a communications officer of Balkan Civil Society Development Network. Okay, so they're the secretariat, our secretariat in the Europe region. Okay, so if Simona, are you online?
Yes.
Yes. Hello.
Great.
Okay. So please stand by, Elaine, for the questions. And yeah, Simona, please proceed. So we'd like to learn more about your experiences in Europe. Thank you.
Well, thank you. First of all, thank you for having me here. I'll do my best to keep it really short. I know that I'm the last speaker, and the attention gap is closing right now, yes. Also, I want to apologize in advance about the noise pollution that might come from my side. Okay, so I'll be talking about the best practices in communication and advocacy by the Balkan Civil Society Development Network. First thing I want to emphasize is that when we're talking about the communication processes that are carried out by networks or implemented within networks, we have to be very aware about the peculiarities of the networks. But first thing first, when it comes to communicating as a network, the first thing one has to establish as a practice is to make sure that there's utilization of all the voices that needs to be heard within the network, may it be 10 or 14 or 19 or over 30 members. Whatever is the number of the members in the network, there are reasons for which networks are being established, and the member organizations are very aware about those reasons, and those are the reasons why those networks reallocate their resources in people, money, time, tools, skills, knowledge sharing, whatever it may be. And when communicating as a network, that's something that just has to be taken into account. Therefore, frequent and timely flow of relevant information about the common interest and the specific interest of the member organizations must be established as a first practice. That would be the first good practice that I would like to share. Once that kind of practice is established, one may focus on carrying the communication process from the inside of the network towards the outside. Well, with bearing that in mind, I would guess that the key to the success of the best practices of BCSDM lies actually in those three pillars that the network is familiar with its constituencies, it's very familiar and knows the formats through and the channels recognized by their constituencies, as in this very well adopting their tone of communication in line with the issue discussed in the public. I'll cut it short and jump to the specifics. So namely the activities and the communication methods and tools that the network uses are very well aligned with the strategic objectives of the network. For example, in regard of facilitating a common understanding of the enabling environment for civil society, the network is mostly implementing monitoring activities and evidence-based advocacy, with having policymakers and international community as a primary audience. For this activity, we are very aware that we have audience that understands the so-called think tank bubble language. We don't need much to adopt the vocabulary when sharing our messages. So we're perfectly functional with sharing policy briefs, policy documents, reports, position papers, which we communicate through email and of course the social media outlets. Those channels have proven to be just enough effective for the impact we've been aiming for. We do the strengthening of the CSO capacities to become more legitimate and accountable actor in functioning democracies through our regional civil society development hub through sub-granting and awareness raising on accountability of standards by cooperating with other CSOs and networks. For this objective, for example, we also do not go very much out of the usual channels of communication. Social media capacities are doing just enough for publishing open calls, sharing success stories of already granted organizations through the hub, announcement of the following activities, etc. We practice a partnership-driven approach or joint actions and collaborations to increase the collaboration in the pardon, and the recognition of the network with and among the core stakeholders. Regarding this objective, we put to use our information sharing capacities and member organizations sharing capacities, but we also communicate and do the same with CSOs and networks that we have established prior successful communications that we consider realized. Through whichever media or channels of communication they're comfortable and they consider them effective to reaching to their constituencies. And finally, to improve the functioning, the communication, and the collaboration within the network, well, we communicate and we keep on building on the priorly established foundation. We regularly communicate via email. We keep membership up to date with regular check-ins. We hold joint meetings, council sessions, and of course, especially in these hard times due to COVID, we use every chance not to rely only on internet-based communication and actually establish in-person contact and contact in real life with whomever it may. We may establish physical contact with from our network, but as I mentioned at the beginning, these methods, tools of communications, form and documents have proven to be successful for but as peculiarities. We're aware of our audience. We know whom we're talking to, we know where to find them. So that is why we haven't face the need to go outside of the ordinary, let's say. If our primary audience were not think tanks and policymakers, if it was the other way around, maybe if we were doing, I don't know, campaigns for raising awareness among Z Geners, I would strongly recommend using even TikTok for such purpose. So I would once again like to emphasize that once you have determined your audience, and once you have determined where you can find your audience, everything else is up for discussion, and maybe if you're a network, should be up for further discussion. I would not take much more of your time, so that's the end for me.
Thank you, Elaine. Thank you, Simona, for sharing your great experiences. I hope that either we've learned from their experiences, or we were able to relate to their experiences. I think everyone everyone had the same experience during this pandemic. Same challenges. Yeah, sharing our communications pieces, making sure that we're visible and all. And so if you have questions or you want to share your experiences as well, please do yes, message us in the chat box or raise your hands. We're very happy to accommodate your questions, queries, and of course, reactions to the presentations that we just had. Okay, because if you're not gonna raise your hands, I will be calling on familiar people. Okay, so I'll give you a few seconds. And if not, so I will ask some people about their reflections, at least for this first session. So remember, we will still be having another session on Thursday. Okay. Yes, I'm waiting for questions in the chat box and looking at the names of the participants that we have online as well. Right. Okay. Yes, I can see a participant from ANND. We also have Hello Adham. Yeah, we have Adskia from Indies. So do you have a question? Please ask. Okay, we have Anton, yes, from the youth sector. Okay, because there are no questions and I saw someone from the youth sector who are supposed to be very energetic and very participative. Anton, so do you have any reflections, reactions, queries on the first session that we just had, of course, the experiences shared by Elaine and Simona, and of course yeah, someone raised his hand. Okay, Anton, if you're not gonna, please prepare your queries or reflections. I will go back to you. Okay, so Adham raised his hand. Hello, Adham. So please unmute yourself.
Hello, everyone. Well, since you call my name, I have nothing in particular to say. But since you called my name, and I must respond. So thank you, everyone, for the valuable material that you shared and you presented. I think that the SEO thing was very helpful. I think we all need to work more on our optimization, and the SEO is a great tool. Everything else is also valuable. What Alan also shared about the advocacy campaign on SDG 8 was also very good. So thank you so much. This is all from my side. Looking forward for the next presentations and the session on Thursday.
Yes, thank you, Adham. Okay, I see Georgina raising her hand. Yeah, so it's good that Adham had a good experience in our first session. So Georgina, hola. May I know your, yeah, so please unmute yourself. And you can also open your video if you want.
Hola.
Hola.
Voy a necesitar traducción.
Hello? I will gonna need interpretation into English. Can you hear me? Can you hear the interpreter?
Yes, we can hear you well.
Go ahead.
Okay.
the experience about campaigns on Twitter. There was a question from the trade unions organization. This is really important for us in Latin America because we managed to foster, we're losing sound, unfortunately. They're having some technical glitches. So we would like to contribute, or maybe a question to the experts on computing websites. How can we link the digital process with the community radio stations so that we can reach more and more people? So the digital with the real life. Thank you. Thank you so much in advance for your answers.
Yeah. Thank you, Georgina. I think, yeah, I hope the communications team were able to pick up Georgina's question. So she was asking about integrating radio and other national or other tools to our digital communications work. So from radio, television, and of course other formats. So would anyone want to share their thoughts and maybe their experiences, if any? Okay. Yeah. So Meg is preparing her answer. But if Simona and Elaine, if you have had experiences with this, and if you would want to answer, you can answer as well.
Well, actually, I have had experience with this, but sadly not within Batas Canada. But yes, if you have already determined that your audience listens to the radio, and you have maybe a vague idea which radios might your audience be turning into their, I don't know, cars while commuting to work or from work. Yeah, it can be a very, very effective tool of communications. Like 2 years ago, I have included radio messages in the 3 biggest radio networks in North Macedonia for implementing a informative campaign on parliamentary oversight on anti-corruption, and it proved to be actually pretty successful.
Yes, thank you for that answer, Simona. So I think, okay. So perhaps Meg would like to share our answer. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, hola, Georgina. Thank you for your question. I hope I got it correctly. You're trying to think about how to also use other platforms to be able to respond to your communications needs. You mentioned radio in particular. For my session on Thursday, I will, it's on drafting a communication strategy. I think I will touch on that subject, but very quickly I'll say that your communication strategy should be based on your context and your resources. And your context also includes where your followers are, what platforms you will reach them, because ultimately it depends on where your viewers are, your target audience is, and you want to meet them where they are. So if they're using radio, for Elaine earlier, they're using WhatsApp because their target audience is using WhatsApp. Then we use that medium. So part of building a communication strategy is doing a baseline survey of where your audience is, and then building your capacities in using that platform to be able to develop the content and release that content using that platform. So if it's radio, then whichever contributes to your communications goals as an organization, then it's going to be a process of learning. And while for CPDE, we're not using radio at the moment, we'll be happy to go on this journey with you. So we can explore these platforms together. Just send us your experiences and we'll try to help out if we can. We'll also try to explore the platforms you want to explore and we'll learn together. I think that's the overall message also of this communications workshop. Whatever your experiences is, please, whatever your experiences, please feel free to share it with the Global Secretariat and with the other secretariats, and then we can discuss, have a fruitful exchange over these topics, communications concerns. Thank you. Over.
Okay, thank you, Meg. Okay, so yeah, Georgina, I hope your question was answered. Yeah. Okay, so while we are waiting for more questions, ayan, so someone unmuted him or herself. Other than me. Okay, I saw, okay, I'm waiting for someone to raise their hands. Okay, so I think like one experience in the Philippines that we have for radio shows, talk shows, and so forth, I think most of them are national organizations doing work, country work. Yeah, and we have those in the Philippines. We also have some, I think, a Reality of Aid Asia Pacific has some work, though it's not really radio. So they use they upload audio contents in Spotify or in Apple. So it's where they and they do some talks. So which they do monthly and so forth. I think we have someone yeah, maybe they could share their experiences too using this kind of platform in sharing their communications work. Okay. Aline, ayan. So would you like to share your views or would you like to answer Georgina's question?
I could contribute.
Okay. Yes, yes, please.
Yeah, no, but I mean, not specifically on radio, but from my experience in dealing with media, it's very important to cultivate the relationship with the journalist or the media or the you know, the person leading the channel. They should know you, should know what you stand for, what the organization's aim and objectives, and to trust you as a reliable source of information. So, because I imagine they receive, I suppose, proposals from many places, many different places. So you need to somehow have engage in a relationship of trust with journalists, especially with journalists, I would say, and to also allow them to have their own neutral, objective approach to the topics. Without wanting to impose anything. So that's just a reflection, my personal experience from dealing with media. And when it yields, it's difficult to land on media, but when you do and you have create that relation, then it normally is a good, sustainable relation that goes on and you can count on. Just wanted to share that.
Yes, I totally agree. Thank you for that answer, Aline. Okay. Yeah, so it's 9:15. So maybe we could get some views or questions. And let's try to, I'll try to call people and I hope you'll be very, I know, participative. Yeah, when I call for your name. So I think, okay. Let's call on. Yan. I think Tala of ROA AP. Yan. Would you like to share your thoughts?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Matty. Good evening to everyone. I would like to thank everyone for sharing. I think it was a very helpful discussion, especially for us, because as what was mentioned, we are also starting to expand our communications to different mediums like podcasts, videos and such. So also thank you to Elaine and Simona to sharing. I think the WhatsApp method is something that we also want to adapt, because I know people's inboxes can be very flooded with invitations to different events. So that's also a good idea on method to engage our members and our audience. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Tala. Okay, so it's 9:17. Okay, so and I believe at this rate we've had a very good discussion. Okay, I'm trying to do a lot of talking, because maybe someone would want to raise his or her hand and share their thoughts. I think I've been mentioning Anton for a while now. So being the member of a youth sector, a very energetic sector, yeah. Would you like to share your thoughts as well? Okay, it's very silent. So I hope in the next session, the youth sector will be very, very active. Ayan, along with all the millennials that we have here. Because it appears that it's the non-youth are more active. Okay, so ayan. Why am I pushing the youth? Because I think in collaboration and mixing up the youth and other participants of all ages actually enriches the discussion, since we have so we work with different audiences. So it's very while we are all CSOs, so we have different we work in different contexts, we have different audiences. So it would be very great to hear the experiences of other constituencies as well. Okay, so I hope in the next session, day 2 on Thursday, we'd be able to prepare ourselves and be more participative, yeah, like we are today. Okay, so again, thank you, Simona and Elaine. Okay, if we don't have any more questions, so I hope you've learned a lot in this first session, and yes, so please feel free to email us if you have more questions. Yeah, and if you want to get the links that we've shared a while back. And so before we leave, okay, I hope we don't leave yet. So please open your cams. So let's have a class photo. And please answer the feedback survey. Yeah. So yes, it's our way of checking our attendance and of course knowing how we'll be able to improve our next session. Okay, so please do open your cams and let's take a class photo. Okay. Ayan. Okay. I hope. So it's gonna be Alvin is gonna be taking the class photo, right? Okay. Yes. So good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. I hope you still have the energy after a 2-hour workshop that we had. Yeah. Okay. Hello, hello. Ayan. So I'll count to 3. Yeah. So let's do a regular smiles. Please open your mouth and do some regulars. Okay. We just want to know that everyone is still alive and very energetic after a very long workshop. Okay. So let's count 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Smile. Okay. So if you're done, please inform us that you're done so we don't Ayan. Para hindi masakit sa panga. Okay. Ayan. So Meg is laughing. So she's still energetic at 9:21 in the evening. Okay. So I hope everyone will be please enjoy the rest of your day. So for those in the Philippines or in parts of Southeast Asia, yeah, and I hope you had a very good discussion and you have a restful sleep tonight. Okay, for the rest of us, have a good day. Yeah, enjoy the rest of the day. And thank you very much for attending. I hope you learned a lot. We learned a lot from you. So thank you, Simona and Elaine. And to all the speakers, to those who asked their questions, thank you. So we had very fruitful discussion. Thank you very much. So we'll see you again on Thursday. Thank you. Bye. Ayan.
Bye-bye, Diwa.
Hi,
Bye,
bye, Chester and
bye.
Paul.
Thank you. Bye-bye, bye-bye, Mati.
Fanny,
Bye-bye,
belated
Fanny.
happy
Bye.
birthday.
Thank you. Yan,
Bye-bye,
thank you,
Meg. Bye-bye,
Tola,
Meg.
Amsale. Thank you for joining.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Georgina,
Bye-bye, Alvin.
Krista.
Bye-bye, interpreter. Bye-bye.
Thank you for the very high energy. I like that. Okay. Tola, thank you for joining. Yan. So we hope to see you on Thursday. Yan. Amsale, it's nice to see you again.
Okay, thank you. Thank you
Hello.
very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Good.
Anton, are you online or are you just muted? Because I was calling you so many times and you were not saying anything. Ayan, he's still not speaking. Okay, I guess he's online, but he's asleep. Okay, Carl, thank you for being a very good participant.
You. Fanny, belated happy birthday.
Yes, belated happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ayan, so it's 17. I think it's the original number of the Global Secretariat and the interpreters plus Tola. So, Meg? What?